What are some health challenges that you're currently facing, and what are you doing about them? That's what we're going to talk about today on Who Cares About Men's Health, with information, inspiration, and a different interpretation of men's health. My name is Scott Singpill. I bring the BS, the MD, to my BS, Dr. Troy Madsen.
Scott, it's great to be here. Happy to be on the show once again.
Yes, and I'm imagining, Mitch, that we're not going to hear much from Troy on this topic, health challenges you're currently facing.
I wish.
Troy has it dialed in, it seems like. I don't know.
Right.
That's how I see it, but maybe that's not the reality. And he's a full-on I care about my health convert. It's Mitch. Welcome.
Hey, I do care about my health, so it's really frustrating that there is still struggles.
Yeah, right. Just because you care about it doesn't mean we don't have struggles, I guess. Right. So this show, Who Cares About Men's Health, is about guys talking about their health. And a lot of us guys aren't very good at it. I mean, even on this podcast, it's often challenging for me to be comfortable and completely honest when I'm talking about my challenges, because mostly I think they're dumb. What's my problem?
Sure.
Or maybe they're not worth talking about because they're kind of insignificant, or they make me look weak or less than. But, that's really what we're trying to normalize on the show, is guys talking about their health and being honest about it. So today's episode, we're going to talk about those health challenges we're currently facing and what we're doing about them. And we'd like to invite you, as you listen, to think about maybe what your challenge is. How do you feel about it? Are you like me? This is dumb, or I don't really want to tell anybody, or I feel like this makes me seem less than. And maybe your problem is similar to one of ours. Maybe it's something else, but regardless, we hope maybe you'll find some value in this conversation, and maybe you can get an idea or two that could help you. So I've already said it. For me, my challenges are dumb. One of the reasons they're dumb is it's the same old thing over and over and over for the past, 20 years, right? And maybe labeling it dumb isn't helpful, and maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know. But it's losing this kind of excess body fat that I have. Now, I'm not a tremendously overweight guy. If you were to look at me, you wouldn't think there's a fat guy. There's a guy who I'm concerned about has too much fat that's impacting his health. I'm like a skinny fat guy, right?
Scott, when you started talking, I'm not trying to downplay anything you're saying, but I knew where you were going to go with this. I was going to interrupt you and say skinny fat, but
yeah,
but it's the same. True. But no, I'm going to say the same thing I always say too. So yeah. So anyway, but it is, right. Anyway, it's the same struggles.
Yeah, so it's skinny fat. Like in clothes, if I was to tell people I need to lose about 5 or 10 pounds of fat, they'd be like, no, you're skinny, you look fine, right? Which comes back to one of these myths we talk about on the show, is you can't necessarily judge somebody's health by their appearance. Now, my health is really good because I was blessed with some good genetics. Like, I don't have any major health problems, but I know that this excess fat, not only do I just not like it, can eventually, lead to some issues. So I would like to lose that, 10, 15 pounds. My turning point, we talk about turning points on the show, and I don't think there's always just one. There's a lot of them, right? And when you have an issue that you've been struggling with for 20 years, you're going to have a lot of those turning points. And my latest one, guys, was my button-up shirts aren't fitting anymore.
Oh, no.
They're pulling the buttons apart at the chest if I stand up in proper posture. You know what I'm talking about?
And it's not because you've been working your pecs too hard.
No, it's not because of that. No, it's not. That's what everybody likes to tell me. It probably is, but it's not.
Oh, no.
And I know from past experience with losing body fat, because I've been through this before, that 5 to 7 pounds is going to make a difference, right? You've got body fat all over your body. It's not just your belly. It's in your back, it's in your chest, and all those things. And if I just lose a few pounds, I know that problem will fix. Anyway, I mean, it's kind of stupid that I know, losing that body fat is good for my health, but my turning point is my shirt doesn't fit.
Sure.
It should just be your body fat percentage is too high. So that's it. That's my first challenge.
But
it's tough, though.
Yeah, it's one that you've been working on. I mean, if it wasn't a challenge, like, it would have already been done, right? If it wasn't difficult, right? So it is something that, I don't think it's dumb.
But it's dumb because, like, how long do I have to work on this? Like, in my brain, I'm just like, come on, just get it done. Just fix it.
But those are always the hardest pounds. It's kind of cliche, but it truly is. It's like, if you're up 20 pounds, that first 5 pounds is probably a whole lot easier. And then you get down to that last 5 pounds, and that's just tough.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, skinny fat guy, here's one of my frustrations. You'll see other people that have, they're like go online on Facebook or whatever, and they've got, I need to start my health journey. That you see that a lot. Yeah. And then they talk about every week how they lost 5 pounds this week and 7 pounds that week. And then a couple months later, I'm down 80 pounds. Well, skinny fat guys, we have fat, but we don't have that much to lose. Nobody can tell we've lost it. So it gets really frustrating. You know what I'm saying?
It's so tough. Yeah, I know. I almost feel like to get that last 5 to 10 pounds off, it's like there's got to, it's because there's the basic stuff that we all talk about, and that's going to really shed the pounds if you're up quite a few. But that last 5 to 10, I don't know. It's like there's just got to be some kind of game changer, just something. Yeah. It almost takes like a dramatic shift just to get that off, where the other stuff's kind of the basic stuff that does it. So that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is this a challenge? That was a question I asked myself. And I would encourage, if you're listening, asking yourself the health challenge you've identified. Why is it a challenge? At this point, I don't know, which is another really difficult thing because I have the knowledge. I understand nutrition fairly well. I used to weigh my food, so I really understand portion size. I understand, how much fat different things have. I understand hidden sugar, all the things we've talked about, right? And I think that I'm eating a moderate amount. I don't want to measure. I don't want to weigh anymore, but I think I'm eating a moderate amount. Another reason it's a challenge is I'm afraid of cutting my calories too much, because when I do, then I'm kind of constantly hungry and I don't like that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I find myself low on energy. That's kind of what I identified as why it's a challenge. Mitch and Troy, how about you? When you've had this same issue, why was it a challenge for you?
For me, it's just a challenge again, just because I just feel like that last 5 or 10 pounds really requires a big shift. Like for me, to really make that difference, because, we've talked about it before. I was up at one point about 20 pounds more than I am right now. And the difference maker for me was a pretty dramatic lifestyle change, which meant running every day. And that was a big change. Like I went from, I was riding my bike to work at that time, but that was pretty much all the exercise I was getting. And it wasn't super strenuous. And even prior to that, I'd do activity here and there, but there are times I'd say, it was questionable whether I was getting 30 minutes 3 times a week, but it really required a significant change of just starting out running 2 miles every day and then building from there that really dropped the pounds. So,
Mitch, how about you?
Yeah, I do not have good genetics. I am constantly kind of like fighting against, getting heavier. I used to be really, really heavy when I was, during my master's program in particular. The thing that's been kind of that's difficult for me is that, I've shared on this show before that when we found out that my hormones were all off and got those zoned in, I lost 25 pounds in a month and a half. Wow. It was amazing. But that stopped, right? Like I am now to a point where it's like, I really would like to lose a little extra weight. Like I know that it's pretty heavy, but it just is, it's very difficult. I mean, it seems like there's so many things that I'm trying to fix with my health, my core four, my everything, that I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to do all of them. Sure. I'm trying really hard to make mental health a big part of my focus right now. And it's just like, man, there are days that some of the work that I do with my therapist, some of the things that I do, that I don't have like the mental energy to think about like, oh my God, do I have to weigh my food? Oh man, like how much kale am I going to eat this week? And not that I'm eating kale. I just, you know what I'm saying? Like this idea of like changing the status quo on top of all this other stuff just feels overwhelming sometimes. And that's kind of the difficulty I have. And I try really hard to like meal prep and whatever, but man, there are days that it's just like, I can't,
So when you were just focusing on your weight, what were some of the challenges to you then?
It was kind of knowing what to do at the time.
Oh, okay. Because knowledge gap.
Yeah, I had a big knowledge gap because that was just it, is like I had tried all these things. And so what do? You go onto Reddit and then everyone's like, oh my God, it's all about macros. Like, here, look, you can have like 4 Pop-Tarts and this other thing. And like, I did that for a while and ate more chicken breast than I knew what to do with. And it just wasn't sustainable and unhappy. And so now that I have more of the knowledge, there's like this new kind of like, why is this so hard? Like, why don't I just go do it? And so, yeah.
All right. So, and I guess now I'm thinking about that listener, Scott, right? He was struggling with his last, 5 or 10 pounds. He talked about that, and it gets frustrating because you hear that same advice that Mitch mentioned, right? Just cut out the extra sugar. If you're drinking soda, stop doing that. And like, if you're all doing all those things and it's still not happening, what's going on? So Anyway, here's what I'm doing about it. I've decided to focus on the nutrition because whether it's true or not, and I think it is true, I've heard you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. You just cannot burn enough calories in a day if your diet's not dialed in, if you're eating way too many calories in excess. So I have 3 things that I did. One thing was I'm trying to reduce my alcohol consumption. Not only just for the health benefits, but, each beer is a couple hundred calories. And if you have 2 or 3, there's 600 calories. And if you're already eating the amount of calories you need and you're adding another 600, the pounds are going to add up pretty quickly.
Sure.
So that's going really well. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. And my secret was, and I'm not going to, this might not work for everybody. And I'm lucky that I don't think that I'm addicted in the way that I cannot stop. I just needed to find a replacement. And I've talked about tea in the past, and that's actually worked for me.
Oh, nice.
Like instead of if I'm craving a beer, I just make, some sort of an herbal tea. I found 2 or 3 of them that I like. And now don't get me wrong. I still like beer and I still drink beer, but I found that I drink it less occasions, and I drink fewer at a sitting than I did before. And now I'm at a point where I can stop at 1 or 2 and I can just switch to tea, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
So how many beers today per day have you cut out? How many beers today have you had already, Scott?
Like today?
How many beers per day have you dropped?
Let's see. This is recorded at 1:54. 8 beers today. As I
8 beers today. So, not a great start to the day. But...
not a great start to the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
calorie-wise.
I don't know. I probably would judge it by a week because I might have more on the weekend and not really drink as many during the week. But I don't know, 5 or 6 over the course of the week, right?
So you're dropping like a couple hundred calories per day then. So you probably dropped, maybe 5 to 10% of your caloric intake with that. Maybe. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a good start.
Second thing, sweets. I usually can have some good discipline, but lately I haven't. And if I can keep those out of the house, I do pretty well. I don't know if you remember when I talked about doing my master's project, I resorted to the sweets quite often to deal with stress.
Oh, what was your candy?
A Reese's peanut butter cup.
That's it.
Because I figure, they're smaller, so they'd have, but when you eat a whole bag, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And if I have a craving for something sweet, I try to eat like some fruit, or I've been letting myself eat a peanut butter and honey sandwich, just really watching that I don't put a ton of peanut butter on there because that's really calorically dense, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I allow myself to do those instead of sweets. So
nice.
And then the hardest part, and I think this has been some mental reprogramming, is eating less. And I think I struggle with this because I feel like I'm eating like the bare minimum already, but I'm not losing weight. So apparently that's not true. And Thunder did talk about that. He said, just try to cut out the alcohol and the sweets and see what that does. And it really didn't do much. I didn't feel. So now instead of eating as much as I used to, I try to eat less. And my cornerstone is my breakfast. I still have my, cauliflower and broccoli and bell pepper and zucchini and mushroom. I kind of make this, it's literally a pan of vegetables in the morning. And then I have eggs and oatmeal and some fruit. And then I try to just think, instead of having 2 more meals, I only have 1 more meal. So either lunch or dinner, whenever I happen to be hungry. And I drink a ton of water to try to keep my stomach full. And I just kind of deal with the fact that I'm probably going to be hungry and I'm probably going to be low energy sometimes because I am reducing calories. And that's just what I'm going to have to put up with in the short term until I get to where I want to be. And then I can go back to being more sustainable. I've lost 5 pounds in the past 4 months. So I don't know if that helped. I don't know if those are the reasons why. It's probably not all fat. There's probably muscle in there because when you lose, weight, you do lose muscle, and I'm not exercising strength training that much. But I've made movement where I haven't in a long time. So that's what's going on with me.
Well, that's good progress.
It's some progress.
It's great. The hardest thing for me would be the caloric intake, like just to straight up drop that and feel hungry. I don't know if I could do that. Like I can drop the sweets, like, that kind of stuff, but that's tough. And that's what I wonder too, is the sustainability of it. If you do feel hungry, but maybe it's just a matter of getting a little more used to it. I don't know. That's a tough one.
As I have gotten used to it, it's been more manageable. It doesn't happen as often. And this, again, isn't going to be sustainable for the long term. I think it comes back to the thought that something a little bit more drastic has to be done just to kind of get to where I want to be. And I've tried to strategically eat too. Like, so for example, if I start getting hungry, maybe I used to eat a full meal and now I just try to eat something and drink, a couple of glasses of water, just something to kind of kill it a little bit. Right. And maybe that's something low calorie. Maybe it's a piece of fruit. Maybe it's some yogurt. Maybe it's some hummus and Triscuits. I've started doing that because of you, Troy.
I love it. You make me so happy.
Or veggies,
I love hearing that.
Or veggies and hummus, just something to take the edge off, right? But I don't know if you can do this without being hungry at times.
I know.
I guess I've kind of accepted that's just the way it's going to be for a while.
I just don't like being hungry. I think that's it.
Me neither. No,
feeling. Yeah, but I think though, two things that really help me where I don't really feel hungry, or I drink a ton of water. And it sounds like you're doing more of that also, where you're trying to drink more water. I think if you drink a lot of water, that's helpful. And having fruits, like exactly like you're doing, having that readily available as snacks, I think is really helpful also, where you're reaching for that. Because I just don't like that feeling of being hungry. But then at the same time, I'm like, oh, I'll grab some peanuts, or I'll grab an apple or an orange or something. And that kind of satisfies that craving you have for sweets as well. But yeah, hearing you talk about it, it sounds like you've done great things.
On one hand, I want to take that congratulations and say thank you. On the other hand, it's just like, you're congratulating me on dumb things. Like I shouldn't.
Oh, come on.
You lost the 5 pounds, man. That's the hardest part. We could congratulate you on losing 80 pounds if you were like 200 pounds overweight. But quite honestly, that 5 pounds is the hardest part.
Right.
That last 5, that's so hard.
Well, I'm hoping to do another 10 or so. Because I know what my body fat percentage is. I know what a healthy body fat percentage is, and I'm just trying to get there.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to do. So anyway,
nice.
That's my current health challenge. All right, Troy, what is your fitness challenge, or your health challenge, I should say, that you're currently facing, and what are you doing about it? So first of all, what is the challenge?
The challenge right now, Scott, is I'm too skinny. And I'm not joking. I'm too skinny.
I don't have enough body fat.
I had an illness a couple weeks ago, and I was so sick. I didn't eat for almost 48 hours, and just super sick, just like nausea. It was everything I could do not to vomit, but I just couldn't eat anything. And I dropped several pounds with that, and I just haven't put the weight back on. But I think the larger thing there hasn't just been that. It's been more, I just feel like I need to put on more muscle mass. And I think that's the biggest issue for me. And it's something I've always struggled with. I'm just a thin guy. But I think if I were to pick out one thing that I'm just kind of like, I wish I could do a better job with that, it would be increasing my muscle mass. And in terms of what I'm doing about it, I've always had some challenge with protein intake. I think being vegetarian, I've really had to focus on protein intake, and I've been focusing on that a lot more in the past year. Resistance training, I'm probably not doing as much as I should. Like I do some just resistance training every day, but I've wondered if I just need to try and focus on increasing that. But quite honestly, right now I'm just kind of in maintenance mode, just like, hey, I'm happy with other stuff I'm doing. But if I were to pick out one thing where I thought, I really wish I could do a better job with that, not putting on just weight per se, but just putting on more muscle mass and increasing that.
And is that because of an appearance ego reason, or is there some health reason that you think you should have more muscle mass? And let me just say, I'm in the same camp for myself.
Okay.
It's been something I've wanted to do for a long time. I feel like I don't really necessarily have a lot of muscle mass. So anyway, I can empathize with that. But why do you want to do that?
It's probably more appearance reason. And because I do hear a lot of people say to me, oh, wow, you're really thin. and I don't really think about it. But then I see some pictures of myself and I'm like, I am really thin, aren't I? And I kind of have a big head, so it's like you kind of look like a bobblehead.
A bobblehead, yeah.
I need some muscle mass to balance out my fat head, and I do have a fat head. Like I have to always get like larger hat sizes and stuff. So
sure.
I don't know that your head's fat per se. I think it's just big. Okay,
it's on the larger side. I will say that. So it's not a good combination. So I will say, that being said, I love running. I love that I run. I love what I'm doing. I'm maintaining that. I'm super happy about that. But I think it's a consequence of running a lot that it is tough to maintain that muscle mass and build it. But it is one thing. I do wish I could do a better job, but you're right. It's for appearance. Like I feel generally healthy and I'm very happy about that. But on the appearance side, I wish I could put on some more muscle mass.
It's interesting, right? Because I think I've heard it said that we are so pre-programmed to seeing people that are overweight, even us skinny fat folk, right? Like when we do get into a fat zone that we should be at that's healthy, then society sees us as super skinny or too skinny, right? Even you, through your eyes.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Somebody was telling me that the average weight of a West Point graduate back in the 1900s was like 150 pounds. You know, these are men that were soldiers and in good shape, right? It's just we've gotten so used to seeing people so much bigger. And then my challenge is you see people that do exercise and work out. So they're bigger than kind of the average person, right? And then that kind of morphs this the other way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's just something I just need to get over that and just accept I'm a thin guy and my BMI is where I want it to be. And I mean, that's where my weight is. Like I kind of range between 150 to 155. So, I'm just under 5'10". So like 5'9" and 3/4. And don't forget that 3/4. Don't forget that. No. So it puts my BMI, between 20 and 25. So I'm about like 22, 23 on that. So maybe it is more, not so much I need to put on muscle mass. Maybe it's more just I need to just say, hey, it is what it is. And I'm happy with what I'm doing elsewhere. I'll keep doing the resistance training I'm doing, which I think is good. I don't know, maybe at some point try to incorporate some more things there if I can work that into my routine.
Yeah. I think about resistance training for a bit of a different reason. So I do think about it for appearance because as I lose some body fat, I don't like how my clothes start fitting, especially in my shoulders and neck area. So I want to put on extra muscle just because and it's totally an appearance thing or how my clothes fits thing. But I've also tried to do this for a long time and I know how hard it is, right? It's going to take a dedication of time. And that's one of my other struggles that I'm struggling with is I know I want to do resistance training, not only because I know the health benefits, right? If you have you start losing muscle mass when you turn 30. If you have more muscle mass going into your old age, you're going to be healthier, less likely to get injured. You have a higher metabolism, so you're not going to be as likely to get fat. If you do resistance training, it helps your bone health, right? Making those harder, which is good. Helps your balance, so you're not going to, fall and break something as you get older. But I still struggle with consistency for that. And again, I know the benefits and I have the knowledge and I know how to do it. I just don't know why I don't. And I enjoy it when I do it. So I don't know, Mitch, any insights there?
I mean, as someone who has constantly been like, oh, I wish I was thinner. Oh, I wish I was thinner. Oh, I wish I was thinner. Like the big change for me was focusing on those health things rather than strictly the look things. Yes, there's mental health aspects to feeling comfortable in your skin. I still would like to reach that point, et cetera. But there is something to be said about emphasizing health over like, I want to look like someone I see on a magazine cover, because if that's what I'm shooting for, then of course I'm not making it. And we've had guests on before that talk about how like miserable they are when they're in competition or photography shape. Right. Yeah. So it's just like, maybe just resetting a little bit of that, focusing on the health rather than strictly 100% what I'm looking at in the mirror. Like that's been helpful for me.
You're right. Yeah.
Roy, what are you shooting for in appearance? What are you looking for? What kind of muscularity?
What's your aesthetic?
Mirror muscles. It's all about the mirror muscles.
Indication that there are some.
Yeah, exactly. Some indication of some musculature in my upper extremities. My legs are fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my legs are fine. I get comments on my calves all the time, which I'm quite proud of. And I shouldn't say all the time, but I have gotten comments on my calves just randomly, but and again, that's just from running, and running hills a lot, but some sort of musculature and definition in my arms and shoulders would be nice to avoid the T-Rex look.
Yeah.
So like right now I'm doing push-ups every day. I do weights, I do pull-ups. I mean, these are just things I'm doing every day along with a lot of stretching and that kind of stuff as well. But it's a good point you make, Mitch. If it is just about the look, then it's probably just a frustrating process where I probably need to find a better motivation for that. And I don't know what that motivation is, but
Sure.
maybe something else.
Well, and that's not to say that there isn't mental health benefits for that kind of like feeling comfortable in your skin, thinking that you look good. Like those are that I'm not trying to like downplay that, but like if that's what you're, if that's 100% what you're shooting for, like making sure that it's a realistic, reasonable, etc., or you'll just beat yourself up.
Yeah.
I love that you're doing resistance training though on a day-to-day basis, because that's, that is contributing to your health, even though you're not necessarily seeing it. And as a guy who's struggled with weight training and has tried to do weight training, and like Mitch mentioned, we've had a guest on that talked about that journey. I mean, that's a huge time commitment. And I think one has to ask themselves, and this is a question I'm struggling with, is it worth that time commitment? I mean, because in order to put on muscle mass that's apparent, you could exercise, do a lot of strength training and get stronger and never really get bigger.
True.
That's completely possible. It's a different kind of training to put on, from what I understand anyway, to put on, visual size. And it takes a lot of time, and I don't know with the new kid, like, why am I trying to talk you out of this? I don't know.
You're doing a good job of it, though. You're making me think I should just be really happy with the way I am and what I'm doing and just not worry about it. And that's a lot of what I've done. So you're right.
But on the other hand, I recently kind of had a turning point where I wanted to get back into the gym for some physical appearance, muscle, ego, because my brother-in-law has all of a sudden had a turning point where he stopped drinking. And he's on this really healthy diet now. I don't know that he's ever eaten like this in his life. And he's exercising 3 times a week. And I don't want to go back home at Christmas time.
Oh, no.
Complimenting him.
And he's going to be looking better than you. You don't want that.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So there's another ego thing, right, that you got to struggle with. Like, is it really worth all of that? And how dumb am I for that's my motivation now?
See, I just found my motivation. I just found it, because for me, it has to be something I can easily incorporate into my life. Yeah. No, I've got my motivation. And just what you said about the new kid.
Be more muscular than Scott.
Well, no, it has nothing to do with you, Scott. Although that is good motivation. No, because I feel like it has to incorporate into my life. I have to see more purpose to it than just, okay, this is how you look. It has to be something that's easily sustainable. So my new approach is I'm going to just start doing overhead presses with my kid.
Right.
She loves being lifted up, and she's like, oh, this is so cool. So I'll just do like multiple overhead presses with her every day. She will enjoy it. She's going to think this is cool. She just keeps getting heavier. So that's going to make me stronger as she gets bigger. And then it's like, hey, I'm just helping. I'm just playing with her. I'm just lifting her up. This is really cool. And then maybe I'll start to see a little definition in my shoulders where I don't just look like I'm, just as super skinny. So
bench press the kid, shoulder press the kid.
Bench press the kid.
Just remember not to go to failure with a child. Like
that's right. I won't go to failure. I will avoid reaching that point.
All right. Well, let's go to Mitch next. Mitch, what are you dealing with?
So mine is unfortunately like it's not self-imposed, which kind of makes it, pretty difficult in a lot of ways. But I am currently dealing with a bunch of the different medication shortages that are happening in the U.S. in the summer of 2023. I have been making great strides in mental health with working with a ADHD specialist and working on making sure that we tune in my medications. And then I'm told I can't have them for a month or two, and it puts everything at hold. We were having some issues a couple weeks ago getting a medication that my sleep doctor gave me for restless leg syndrome. And so the last couple of weeks, I have not been sleeping well because I can't get the medications I need. And so it gets really disheartening across the board, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm working on myself. I'm working to improve myself. I've gone to specialists. I've done sleep studies. I've done tests. I've tried all these things that I know are going to help me out. And then you can't.
Right.
You can't for a couple weeks. Right. And so it's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating because it's just like, well, great. I guess I'm not going to sleep well for the next couple of weeks. And so this thing I'm struggling with is trying to be compassionate enough to myself to be like, hey, this is what's going on. It's not like you can go down and like make the meds yourself at the factory. Like there's no solution that I can do initially. Like, so setting expectations and being kind and compassionate to myself and stuff. It's rough right now. So
that's incredibly frustrating. Yeah. So you're having like 2-week stretches or even more of just not having the medications?
Yep. And so I was down for a little procedure recently. So I was able to at least like stock up on the ADHD meds. So I've rationed, right? And so I have, a little bit of leeway month to month, but I get to the end of the month and I don't know if I go to the pharmacy, if they're going to have it or not. Wow. And that's really frustrating too, because it's like, I'm not making progress. Like I feel like I made so much progress.
And you worked hard for that progress. You had to do a lot of detective work and go through a lot of providers to figure out some of these issues that you've been struggling with your whole life. And just recently, you finally got some answers and got some things that were helping you.
Yeah, it's and like I'm in a program right now where I'm working with an ADHD specialist to kind of like come up with new techniques to figure out how your brain works and whatever. And that gets kind of put on hold. It's supposed to be a so many week progress. You're supposed to, work through one thing after another and then you finish. But I've had to put that on hold.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay.
Hey, so question for you, your restless leg syndrome medicine, did it really make that much of a difference? I mean, you went from not sleeping at all, going on that medication, sleeping really well to not sleeping at all again when you don't have it?
Yeah. So I did not realize how much it was helping. Like it was actually to the point where I was going to reach out to my doctor and be like, man, I don't know if this is doing much. I know it took a while to ramp up into it. I knew it took, but maybe we should look at something else. And when I could not get the pills and I had to there was a potential for withdrawal. So I'm like talking to my doctor, like what am I going to do, et cetera. And we've luckily I had an extra pill or two to kind of like taper a little bit, but now I'm trying to taper back on after a couple of weeks of not having it. And for the last couple of weeks, it's really wrecked my sleep schedule and that can take a while to get back. And it's just like, oh my God, I thought we had this locked down.
Yeah.
And so going from having the medication, not knowing if it was doing much to not having it, realizing it did a whole bunch and then not being able to go get more. It's just, so
that's just brutal. The best analogy in my mind would be if they just ran out of omeprazole all of a sudden. Which
oh my God. Yeah.
Acid reflux. Yeah. Like if that just ran out, cause I just traveled and I realized I didn't have enough omeprazole and I had one night without it. And it was just like, no, and that was just one night. And I was having like killer heartburn. But that's nothing compared to like having significant restless leg syndrome that's keeping you up all night. But that's unbelievably frustrating. And it's like you said, what else do you do? It's not like you can make your own medication. It's not like there's some root you can dig up or some herbal remedy that's going to make a difference. So,
right. Yeah. Just grind something up.
Just grind something up and take that.
Hey, Troy, not to be uncompassionate, but I think we got a great opportunity here for an experiment. Mitch, how's life without sleep now compared to how it was? Does it make a big difference in your life, in your mental health, your physical health?
Yeah, it does. I'm finding that the motivation to do good things, the motivation to eat healthy, having energy through the day has been really, really hard the last couple of weeks. It's just,
yeah. Because we talk about the importance of sleep, and I think sometimes it can get undervalued, but you're experiencing the side effects of lack of sleep after getting some sleep for a while.
Yeah.
And, you didn't get it for that long, so it's really fresh in your memory, I guess.
Well, and I guess that's the extra thing to it, is that we have finally found solutions to problems after years of looking into them, both the ADHD and the restless leg stuff, right? I now know what it feels like to be better. I now know what it feels like to have those conditions treated. Right. And now it's well, hey, keep on keeping on. What? So it suddenly feels worse to be back to where I was before. So,
wow. I'm so sorry about that. I think compassion, like you said, what can you do about that? Just being compassionate and just realizing, I guess it is what it is at this point. But yeah,
because you set up plans. You set up well, now that I have energy again, I'm going to start working out every morning. And then I'm just, and then it's you don't beat yourself up because you didn't get up at 5 a.m. to go run or whatever it was. It was you're dead tired and there's extenuating circumstances, be okay. So that's my challenge and what I'm working on.
that was a great conversation. Thank you very much for working through that. I hope that you, the listener, found this useful in some way, shape, or form. And take the challenge. What is the health challenge you're facing? Is there some sort of a turning point you can identify that might help you want to take that challenge on? What are your struggles? How are you labeling it? And what can you do about it? If you want to talk about that or share your experience, or if you're just even stuck and want to work through it with us, well, that's what we do here. We talk about health at Who Cares About Men's Health, and you can reach out to us at hello@thescoperadio.com. That's hello@thescoperadio.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for caring about men's health.